So we closed on the property early March.
So what's the total?
In total, it's going to be like 26
million.
Yeah. Bought my first property in Indianapolis, single family home, bought it for $75K, renovated it for $40. And we could talk about, horror stories and stuff, but I made money. I think freedom's actually a huge legacy that, people really want and need. I want to set that example for my kiddos.
You mentioned Keith Cunningham. Speak to that for a second.
One thing that I love that he said, it doesn't matter how fast you run if you're running in the wrong direction. We bought it for $15,000 a door and then renovated it, maybe like about 30, 35.
How many doors was this first one?
109.
Welcome back to Multifamily Rockstars. So as you guys know, this is where we deep dive into our guest deals and give you some practical and actually actionable advice, especially if you're on like your first deal or two, especially if you're brand new to multifamily. Now, this is a unique episode that I'm actually doing live in my studio. Typically, I'll have Mark Nagy, who's the head of my massive action team, on as well. But because he would just have to come in on Zoom, I'm like, Mark, I'll do this one. And so this is the first time we've done a Rockstars episode right here in my studio. So today I've got Kyle Stephenson here. Now he's an orthopedic surgeon and got a really cool background. And we're actually going to go a different direction this time. Now he's into extended stay hotels. And so we've never talked about that on this show. And in the Warrior program, we have pretty much every asset class, and that's one we haven't talked about. I'd forgotten all about it. We talk about, self-storage and mobile home parks, and of course, multifamily for sure, senior housing, industrial flex space. So extended stay hotels is a new one. So I'm excited to get into it with him. Welcome to the show, Doc.
Hey, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate having me.
First time I've said Doc, I think, as I introduced a guest too. That's awesome. Well, why don't you give us a little background on who you are and where you came from. You got some cool stuff in your bio here. So
okay. Yeah, appreciate that. Thanks for having me. This is beautiful.
Thank you.
My name is Kyle Stephenson, as you mentioned. I am from Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm a sports medicine orthopedic surgeon. I actually went to medical school here in Sarasota, in Lakewood Ranch. So I love this area. I was more than happy to come down and hang out. I started real estate investing in about 2020. A lot of things changed, obviously, that time. And so mindset had to shift. And I think as a physician, we'll get more into it. But as a physician, you realize that your job is not always going to be there necessarily. As an orthopedic surgeon, they kept us out of the hospital. So I started diving deeper into real estate, and that's how I really got into real estate investing.
So was COVID an impetus for that, or?
I would say, I would say COVID was an impetus. Before that, I was doing limited partner stuff.
Okay.
But I just handed my money over to
somebody else,
operators, somebody else. Didn't have a clue what was going on until I got money back. And COVID was really what started the mindset shift. Yep.
And I mean, in that field, you're only as good as your last surgery. Obviously, if you're not working, there's no money coming in.
Correct.
You're not building any annuities. So
that's right.
So when did you start doing real estate?
So in 2020, I was doing limited partner stuff. I was throughout residency, I was reading Robert Kiyosaki, Cash Flow Quadrant, Rich Dad Poor Dad, all the books, right? Bigger Pockets. Started getting deeper into it, and I think with COVID too, I realized two things. As a physician, I had no control, and because I'm an orthopedic surgeon, they kept us out of the hospital. They basically said, you just go. The stereotype is brawn over brains. So stay out of the hospital, no elective cases. So I was I had more time to do research on COVID and what was going on. And the more I learned, the more I trusted the government less.
Right.
So I realized, all right, no control.
We could spend the whole hour talking about that shit.
I know.
But
we won't go deep into it, but
right.
No control, first of all. Second of all, I didn't trust what they were necessarily doing.
Right.
How do I do something about that? Well, let's figure out a way to minimize the taxes that I'm giving to the government, legally, ethically, and morally.
Right.
Called my CPA many times and said, hey, I want to do this. And he's like, you make too much money. You can't do it. So the more research I started doing, picking up your podcast, Grant Cardone, started diving deeper. I'm like, there are ways to do this.
Sure.
And so that's really what pushed me to start being more of a general partner. And I thought it was going to be just, start with a single family. So just a quick mindset shift from COVID. We moved to Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh.
Yep,
okay.
We did. We had our first son.
Okay.
We figured that, it was one of those where I'm from Indianapolis. We were living there. And my mindset was just stuck. It was COVID, and I was like, if we don't move, do something now, we'll never do it.
Sometimes a change of geography really makes a huge difference. Yeah.
And I had 6 weeks off in between jobs. Started really reading more books. Why Doctors Don't Get Rich by Dr. Tom Burns was
Yeah,
one that
Burns.
also.
Yeah, he was in my mastermind, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, Tom was in my mastermind. I used to have a mastermind called the Multifamily Boardroom. It was about 40 billion plus in assets in there.
Wow.
But I kind of backed off on it just because it was too much commitment. But yeah.
Sure. No, that's great.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's a brilliant mind with this stuff. So read his book, and I was like, all right, light bulb went off. Got to get my own property. Take action, right? Take massive action, as you always say. Bought my first property in Indianapolis, a burr,
Just a house, or
just a house, single family home. Bought it for $75K, renovated it for $40. I was in Charleston operating.
Okay.
This was going back home in Indy,
Wow.
where I'm from, and we could talk about horror stories and stuff. But that was my first.
did you make money?
I made money. Yeah.
Okay.
So I did a cash out refi.
Okay.
Pulled out like 90% of my money.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, that was fun. Let's do
Okay.
it again. So then she just kept going with the single family stuff.
I see.
And
How did we cross paths?
Well, so I did short-term rental tax loophole. That was my first real tax benefit.
Short-term rental tax. I'm sorry, what?
It's called a short-term rental tax loophole.
I'm not familiar with that
Yeah, it's
term.
part of the tax code where if you're not like real estate professional status,
Right.
then you could do this short-term rental tax loophole where it's a short-term rental. You basically have to materially participate still to get the tax benefits.
Okay.
It's a good way for
You have to be
physicians
active.
do. You got to be active.
Okay,
Correct.
but what is the tax benefit? Just you
You still get the
educate me.
depreciation.
I've never heard of
You
it.
still get cost segregation.
Oh.
You do the cost segregation, you get the bonus depreciation.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can get
Okay.
that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lower hanging fruit. I think.
So if
than
you buy
real
a house
estate.
and turn it into a short-term rental, there's some loophole there.
Correct.
Now, I know that industry is getting their ass handed to them. I don't know
sure.
why, honestly, because they're really desirable. But my brother's got some Airbnbs up in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Georgia, and he had to sell one of his cabins. The occupancy is not like it used to be.
Right. I think it just got oversaturated.
Is
right?
that it? Okay.
I think
that makes
so.
sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So fast forward, I was doing that. I was like, okay, boom, I got 4 properties now. This is
All in Indy?
All in Indy.
Uh-huh.
One in Charleston.
Okay.
Airbnb in Charleston.
Okay.
And I was like, this is going to take forever. My
Right.
wife were having those
Right,
pillow talks at night, and I'm like, this is going to take me forever.
Right.
So I'm like, I've been listening to Rod. I literally had it on my goals at that time. I want to be on his podcast.
Oh,
And
no shit.
Here I am.
Okay, wow. Okay, now guys, that is what we call a clue. Okay, when you make a declaration like that, you can't imagine how often it freaking happens. I just and I love talking about these things because people don't believe it. But just saying it starts the wheels turning. Gets your brain, your reticular activating system pointed in the direction so you can achieve what it is you want to achieve. Yep. And so you declared you're going to be on my podcast, and here you are. And recently in my boot camp, I added a video with the lead singer of Coldplay when he was like a kid. Like he looked like he was freaking 15. He's like, remember the name Coldplay? We're going to be huge in the world. And I show one of their concerts. I don't know if you've seen their freaking concert. Oh, you saw it?
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Yellow. They played Yellow.
Yeah, right?
And nobody knew it at the time.
But anyway, well, okay, sorry to interrupt. I just had to hammer that one.
No, this is great.
Yeah.
So this was a dream of mine. And so that's when I decided, all right, I'm listening to your podcast. I finally... What do you say? Crush.
You texted Crush?
I texted Crush.
By the way, guys, if you are interested in applying to the Warrior Program, text Crush, like he said, to 72345. And so you did that, and here we are.
I did it.
Wow.
My wife was supportive, but she's like, a
little scared.
A little scared.
Yeah, sure. I mean, doctor, surgeon,
exactly.
Screwing around with something else.
Why not just keep doing what you're doing?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's secure. At least that has the perception of being secure.
That's right.
It's really not, candidly, because if you get injured or something, you're done. What do you do then, right?
Exactly right.
Okay, so but you got her on board now, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So what are your stats now? You're in some multi. How much?
Yep.
What
So limited partner stuff. We had 8 or 9 of those before we got into all this, and
Right.
then few months into it, as you talk about, network, and that's what I did right away. Just started getting on the Zooms and the phone calls and joining, coming to your Warrior events, and I got into a Savannah deal with Team.
With the
Hamont
Wells
and the Wells. Yep.
Good.
176 unit down there in
Nice.
Savannah, and then
and basically what you did is you used your connections in the medical community to raise money for these, and that's kind of the hat you're wearing right now.
That's right. Yep.
Raising money. Now you're obviously actively involved as well.
Yep.
But you're raising money. Okay, so you got in that one. Anything else?
Yeah, and then I joined a couple other Warriors, Jason, JD, Eric, a couple other guys. Actually, Charlie's involved with that. And we did extended stay hotels, as you mentioned.
Oh, okay. So that's with Jason and them. Yeah.
Yep.
So I want to dig into
Sure.
extended stay hotels for sure. Well, fantastic. You just took action, man, and that's it. Okay. So and you have your own podcast
Yes.
called Assets and Orthopedics, which is kind of a sports medicine, I suppose, or really just a medical.
It's really to educate physicians
Right.
on real estate investing.
Got it.
Right, building wealth through real estate.
Got it.
Bring on entrepreneurs and
Right.
yeah.
Right,
We're
right.
just trying to educate.
Right. And you were a team doctor for the Boston Celtics. That's kind of cool, where you worked with them. And you also are a spokesman for something called Conscious Keto. What's that?
Yeah, so I was approached to be. They wanted a sports medicine doctor, a male sports medicine doctor, to be the spokesman for this joint supplement called Sinocell.
Okay.
And I had to do my own research, but ultimately I do commercials for them.
No
And
kidding.
So yeah, as a physician, my dad was an entrepreneur. I have an entrepreneurial mindset.
Sure.
75% of us physicians nowadays are employed.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, you're employees.
So, yeah, employees.
Right.
And 63% of doctors are burnt out.
Yeah.
Right, because we're employed and we have no control.
Right.
So yeah, we make good money. We have no control. We lose a lot of money to taxes.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out the other part of it where let's minimize our taxes. Let's have control. So I'm taking the bull by the horn, doing real estate, doing this joint supplement where I get royalties on the product.
Nice.
And I'm a spokesman. So I just do, like this weekend, I have 3 commercials.
No
this
kidding.
weekend. Yeah, they're
Wow.
flying to Indy to do it.
Good for you. Good
Yeah.
for you. Well, let's get into a deal. Okay.
Yep.
So tell us about your first extended stay deal.
Yes.
Okay. So where is it?
Yeah, so we have-
how'd you find it, or how did Jason find it? Whoever
Yep.
brought the deal.
Yep. Yeah, Jason's the one that found the deal. He's brilliant. He's from Las Vegas.
Vegas.
Yep.
Yeah, I
And,
remember. I just as an aside, I was in Vegas. God, has to be 3 or 4 years ago, and went and saw this little piece of shit hotel that he had, like in a sketchy part of town in Vegas.
Yep.
But he was renovating it, and I know he's killed it with it.
Yep.
But I was like, oh my God, seriously, when I looked at it the first time. But
Yep.
but it looks really good now, and I'm sure
Yeah, he exited those
he
Vegas
did
hotels.
made money. Okay,
Yep.
well, good for him.
But what I loved about it is during COVID, you think about recession-proof assets,
Right.
Multifamily, of course, being
Right.
that one. But his extended stay hotels in Vegas, when the Strip was at 7% occupancy, his were at 97%
No
occupancy.
kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, because
they're
people have to
extended.
live.
Yeah, they got to have a place to live.
That's
so it's
right.
really more of it's almost like a quasi Airbnb in a way, long-term.
long-term.
Or long-term, or even like a
midterm-
short-term multifamily or midterm rental.
Midterm rental is what I
midterm
liken it
rental.
to.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so where's this deal you got in on?
These are one in Baton Rouge, Louisiana,
Rouge,
and the
wow.
other one in Lafayette, Louisiana.
Okay.
They're both right off I-10, which goes
Okay.
from Florida to Houston, Texas.
Right.
And they were exterior corridor hotels
Okay.
that both
So guys,
great
of course,
areas.
there's exterior corridor, there's interior corridor where you got to walk inside and the rooms doors are inside. So these are more like
motel.
like a motel. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So rundown motels were not managed well at all. The
Right.
reviews online were terrible,
Right.
the twos. And so he took it over. We bought it for $15,000 a door.
Wow.
Right? You can't do that in multifamily.
Wow.
And then renovated it enough to get it, maybe like about 30, 35,000.
How many
per
doors
door.
was this first one?
109 for the first one.
109 doors, $15K a door. How much did you spend renovating? And what did you do? Talk about what you did.
About $20,000 a room.
So you got in for 35. They're nice then. You spent some real money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So what all did you do in?
Created the brand Boardwalk Suites.
Okay.
That was Jason's doing.
Okay. Cool.
But it's beautiful. So
Right.
it's got a beautiful brand to it. It looks good on the exterior. The rooms are. We got secondhand furniture from Las Vegas hotels.
Oh, so they're furnished.
Oh yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, furnished hotel. Yep.
Okay.
And no kitchenettes. We have TVs and fridge.
Okay.
But we didn't do the kitchenettes because
Fire?
we didn't need them.
Oh.
And there's obviously hazards.
Right.
Right. And the people that stay in these, They go to the convenience store. They go get their
They
own
go out
food.
to eat.
They go out to eat.
Okay.
That's right.
So no hot plates, nothing.
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
interesting. So fridge and, what'd you say, fridge and
Fridge,
sink?
TV,
Fridge,
sink.
TV, sink.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're really nice. I mean, I can show you pictures.
Yeah, so 20 grand. I mean, you must have you new floors, new furniture.
I mean, some of that had to be electrical and
Electrical
fix
work.
the roof.
Okay.
And,
Okay. What's the just my own edification? What's the average size of each unit? Like 300
pretty
square
small.
feet?
Yeah, I was gonna say probably studio.
Okay, studio. Okay. And what's the average length of time somebody stays in one of these things?
So in Vegas, he had like 29 days was the average length of stay.
Okay, interesting.
And so it's been a year now for both of these.
Okay.
And that's what we're building it up to is the 30 to 60 day average length.
So what demographic would do a 30 to 60 day stay in a non-touristy
Right.
location?
Workforce. So
Workforce housing.
Ton of contractors down there.
Okay. So
Gas and oil.
jobbers, yeah. Okay, yeah. Baton Rouge, a lot of plants going in, or
of
there's
plants.
stuff being built down there right
Yes.
now. Okay.
Yep. There's travel nurses. That's part of it. It's nice enough that travel nurses love staying there.
Okay.
But also the contractors are a big one.
Yeah.
Workforce.
But they probably are rough on them though. You gotta.
You would think. I mean, they seem to take good care of it.
Do they?
Yep.
Okay.
And they just want to have their beer and hang out at night.
When did you buy the Baton Rouge one? How long ago? So,
November of last year.
okay, so it's fairly new then.
2023.
Oh, of 23. Okay,
Yes.
so you've had it over
And
a
then
year
January of 2020.
How long did your CapEx work take? Your renovation work? How long did that take you?
It took a good 6 to 8 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got about 6 to 8 months of runway now that you've been leasing it and all that.
Yeah.
How do you market one of those? Just out of curiosity, is that like an Airbnb thing?
Airbnb, yep. We have it on Airbnb.
Okay.
There are the OTAs, right? The online travel agents.
Oh,
Like
okay.
Expedia,
Oh,
Booking.com.
okay. Oh, you can put them in there too.
You can do that.
Okay.
They take a big percentage of it.
Oh, do they?
take like 20%.
Wow.
So direct bookings have been, he's got it up to 90-something percent direct bookings.
No kidding.
And that's Facebook Marketplace.
So that's just
Google.
doing social media, doing Google AdWords, things of that nature.
Walk-ins.
So you got a regular ad budget that you're
Yep.
and you're implementing. Good for him. Please tell him I said hello, by the way, because it's been a long time since I talked to him. He and I have had a lot of back and forth. Baton Rouge is in the hurricane belt as well. How's the insurance situation with that?
Insurance is actually reasonable.
Is it?
More than what I would have expected.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Okay, good.
And
so 109 doors on the first one. What about the second one in
second one
Lafayette?
is even better.
Okay.
It's 120 doors.
Okay.
We also got free in that parking lot. It's like a U-shaped parking lot. Okay.
Okay.
And so on one side
So
is
U-shaped parking lot. So it's like a courtyard kind of a setup?
Yeah, and there's like a
Okay.
big lot in between that we don't own.
Oh, interesting.
Yet, but we have it under contract.
Oh, good.
We're kind of
Oh,
waiting
good.
to
What are you
pull the
gonna do with
trigger. We're still trying to figure that out.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Because right in the middle, what do? I guess besides a pool, I don't know what else maybe a
know.
playground. I don't know.
Well, so it's 120 unit hotel,
Okay.
a 40 unit apartment complex.
Oh, included.
It's dilapidated. I mean,
Right.
it's rough, and so we had to fix the exterior just to make it look good. But
Oh,
the
you haven't even touched the interior.
No.
Okay.
Nope. We're waiting until we make more money on the
Gotcha.
hotel. And then 8,000 square foot retail space
What?
as well. That all came with it.
Holy shit! Is the retail leased?
Not yet.
Okay.
And the only reason for that is because we still have some furniture in there, and so
Okay.
we're waiting to get that furniture out. And then
You're just
do a
using it
triple
as
net
storage.
lease.
You're using it as storage for right now, and then you're going to throw a retail. Wow.
Very soon.
You know, guys, some of my most successful warriors are the ones that can look at a deal that has hair on it. Like that would intimidate most people. There's retail, there's multi, there's the hotel. What the hell do you do with all that? What'd you pay for door there? Per door there, by the way.
About the same.
It's no kidding.
Oh yeah. Well, actually less than that one.
But did that include the multifamily doors or?
Oh yeah, include everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you did the cost per door include the multifamily doors?
Oh no, I mean it's definitely way less.
So it was like a bonus just to get that extra
Correct.
stuff. So
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, guys, I'll tell you, some of the most successful students I have can look at stuff like that and see the potential. And Charlie's really good at that, by the way. Charlie's another one of the warriors that's really good at that stuff. Yeah, so, we're not just locked into multifamily here. So, and your role has been primarily raising money. Mm-hmm. Are you involved in the ongoing asset management as well? You on those calls and all that?
Yep, I'm on those calls every week.
Okay.
I talk to Jason, JD, Eric weekly, and then I actually fly down to Lafayette and Baton Rouge to
Okay.
continue with, check
So
on
Eric's
properties.
in that one too?
Hoyman.
Oh, not Eric. Okay, not
Not
Upchurch.
Up-
Okay,
yeah, correct.
and then JD is in there. Okay, he's doing a lot of stuff. Awesome. Yeah, these are all Warriors guys. So what's next? Are you going to stick with that asset class? Or are you going to do some other
I
asset?
like that asset class, but
Okay.
so I'm actually now doing back to multifamily.
Okay.
Still helping them with that, obviously.
Okay.
On top of podcasts and being a surgeon and doing all these things.
You
right?
still got your so you still got your income coming in from
Right.
surgery, but
Right.
you're building this side hustle. And guys, that's how it's done. I mean, if you heard me say it, if you grind for a few years like most people won't, you live the rest of your life like most people can't. And so you need to pick a side hustle. If it's multifamily, of course, text CRUSH to 72345 or get your butt to one of my boot camps. But there's so many opportunities in other asset classes as well, like extended stay here. What a great example. Now, by the way, when were these built? Are these 60s built, 50s built? They're older, right?
80s.
80s? No
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Wow.
We weren't going anything lower than 80. And
fantastic.
Concrete buildings.
Okay, which will help with the insurance.
Exactly.
Okay, fantastic.
Right. Yep.
Wow.
And I could talk about it. I do have another deal that's coming.
okay.
I mean, he's not a Warrior that I'm working with, that I partner with on this one, but he was on your podcast in 2022.
Oh, what's his name?
Kent Ritter.
I don't remember.
Okay. He's with
Please,
Hudson Investing.
please apologize to him on my behalf because I
it's
don't
all right.
remember. Yeah,
He's based
I'm
out
at
of
1,000 podcasts now.
Oh,
So.
exactly. And he's based out of Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you something embarrassing. This is how bad my memory is. So, I don't know. It's been a couple months ago. You remember this, Matt? I had a couple sitting there on the couch, and I'm like, "It's so great to meet you guys." And they're like, "Rod, you were on our podcast 3 weeks ago." I'm like, "Oh, geez."
Yeah.
That's how bad my memory is
well,
anyway.
come on.
So, yeah. But, so you're doing another multifamily deal now. So,
This will be a development deal.
development.
In Westfield, Indiana.
Okay.
6th fastest growing city in the country.
Okay.
And that's where I live.
How many units?
87 units with retail space on the bottom floor.
So mixed use.
And
Okay.
it's that area is booming, which is cool.
Very cool.
So we're excited
and
about that.
how many acres is it?
Just over one. It's like I believe 1.5.
1.5 acres, and you're putting. So you're going to go up. You're going to go up with it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. But it's right on the corner of this new downtown Westfield.
Okay.
It's gonna be it's gonna be nice.
Interesting. And do you have a builder already, architect and a builder already?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So
It's a 27-month-hold.
okay.
So fairly quick, which is nice.
Okay.
Yep. The whole team's in place.
Okay.
So we close on the property early March.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yep.
And what's let's talk about that one for a minute. So what's the total cost to get it? Well, there's a construction piece, and then there's
Right.
the get it occupied piece. So describe that a little bit.
In total, it's going to be like 26.
26 million.
Yeah. The
Okay.
beauty is we're getting TIF from the city.
What does that mean?
The tax
Oh, you got some tax incentive.
tax incentive.
So what
fund
you
from the city.
like the tax is being abated for a while?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the way I understand it is they're taking from the future revenue, from the potential revenue,
Okay.
and putting that into the deal. I would have to understand TIF maybe more.
Yeah,
to really explain
I
it.
don't fully understand what you just
Okay,
said, but
okay.
sometimes they'll give you a tax abatement for a certain number of years, but
Essentially.
I don't understand the future revenue piece.
Okay.
But
Well, it's called TIF, and it's from the city itself, but they're putting in $4.65 million.
they're putting that much into your deal.
Yep.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic.
That helps a lot.
Oh yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
And what's great about that, it's not just the money. They're not going to lock you up with a bunch of permitting bullshit and inspections and things that over the top stuff. They'll work with you because they want to bring it home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's teaming up with the city.
That's
basically.
right. It doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. So you've got into an existing deal in the Carolinas, or in Savannah. You got into these extended stay hotels. Now you're building one. Okay. All right. Okay. Go big or go home, man.
I'm not trying to spread myself too thin.
No,
but
it's okay.
fun.
But you're raising the money and you're involved in the asset management. And this is why this is a team sport.
Yep.
You're not going to do this yourself. And that's why I asked you who you aligned with to build that. Because if you've never done it, you've got to have experts on board. Just like Jason, I would consider him an expert for extended stay hotels because, he was doing it 4 or 5 years ago when I saw him in Vegas. And so he's an expert there. You've got an expert in multifamily with the team in Savannah, experts, and then you've got you need an expert to do the development.
Right.
You align with people that know, and that's why the Warrior program is so extraordinary because
Yes.
there's so many people in there that have done it. And in fact, we're doing a count right now. We sent an email and text to all of the warriors just to get a count, because I think we're well over 250,000 units just in multifamily.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you become a warrior?
August 2023.
So if you had to start all over knowing what you know now, because you're already becoming successful in this space and you're a successful surgeon, is there anything you'd do differently?
I don't think so necessarily, just because it got me to the point that I got to. But of course, I think networking earlier would have helped a ton. Taking that leap of faith in a group like this.
Right.
People
the Warrior Group.
Like the Warrior Group,
right,
exactly.
Right.
And when I read books and listen to podcasts, I tell young people, if you want to get ahead of 99% of people, read books. Turn the football games off on Saturdays and Sundays.
So name some books that you like. Obviously, anything by Kiyosaki.
Kiyosaki,
every one of his is fantastic.
Yes, yep. One of my favorite books is called Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. Philosophical book about life. And my dad actually just passed away in December.
Oh.
And I liken it to that book has already been a big influence in my mind. And then when he passed, I'll tell the story quick.
No, that's
there
right.
There was 1,000 people at his funeral.
Wow.
Not even kidding. 1,000 people. Just insane amount of support and love for my dad. And
this is in Indy?
In Indy.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Just a generous guy, well loved.
How was he so well known and well loved?
He owned a business. Him and my uncle owned a business for 30 years, a local printing business.
Okay.
They printed, programs for our local high school teams, and they were very generous and giving to a lot of local community, projects.
Gotcha.
And the schools and all that, and it's just it's a good South Side Catholic community.
Sure.
But it made me so. And him and I would have these conversations later in life. In his last couple weeks, he was a successful guy. He sold his business for many millions of dollars and did very well. But what struck me was really the amount of people that showed up at his funeral.
Yeah.
Not the amount of money that he had in his bank account. And crazy enough, he didn't have maybe as much as I expected him to have for my mom. And it sounds bad, but in reality, he goes, I spent it all on you guys.
Really?
And he did. I don't remember a time where he would let any of us pay for vacation. He's got 6 successful, awesome kids, me and my siblings. None of us could pay for vacation. None of us could pay for anything.
Wow.
He wouldn't let us. He was always the caretaker of everybody.
Wow.
And so he's right. He did spend it on us. And so what I saw from that, and this is why I wanted to create LegacyRx, is to get this stuff out there, is it is in line with Die with Zero, that book, where it's like, spend the money now on the people you love. Don't wait until you die to send this grand inheritance.
I so needed to hear that today, buddy. I can't even tell you. I'm in a big life transition myself. How old was he, by the way?
72.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Young.
Yeah. Wow. I'm in a big life transition myself, and I'm really starting to look at life through this filter of forget the stuff.
Yeah.
I've got all this stupid shit. I want more experiences.
Yeah.
I want to have more experiences. So I'm looking at trips and and what you said about the kids really resonated with me as well.
Yep.
But
if you want your kids to live a truly rich life, spend twice as much time and half as much money.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. You have kids too, yeah?
I have 3 young kids.
How old?
4-year-old boy, Fletcher, 2-year-old girl, Navy, and 7-month-old boy, Crew.
Wow, you're busy. We're busy. So, and guys, and you've heard me talk about this at the Warrior events. You were at a Warrior event, yes?
Oh,
yeah. And we've got one coming up we just scheduled one May 31st and June 1st here in Sarasota. And by the way, we do these events, it's just Warriors, because we discovered, 4.5 years ago, our most successful Warriors by far are the ones that are most connected in the community. So we tried to figure out how to facilitate those connections. And so, only a couple of years ago, we started doing these Warrior-only events for people to network, and we go deep dives on stuff like network, like underwriting and things of that nature. But they're pretty amazing, right? When everybody gets together, it's an incredible group. Yeah,
fireworks happen.
Yeah. So let me ask you this though. Let's go negative for a second. Why do you think people fail in this or any business? Yeah, but this business primarily. What do you think? Why do you think people fail?
Good question. I mean, it's similar to what you just talked about. Teamwork is everything, and if people try to do things isolated by themselves, it's not going to work out well. And then the other thing is just not having the perseverance.
Yeah.
Because like Alex Hormozy talks about, like this valley of despair. Any business that you can start or any real estate thing you start, everybody's going to go through that valley of despair. If you can push past it and there's going to be
Valley
adversity.
of despair. Can you elaborate on that just a little bit?
Where there's
Tough
adversity.
times. Yeah,
exactly.
You're gonna have walls drop in front of you.
Adversity makes some men break and makes others break records.
Yeah, it either strengthens you or it stops you.
And the only way to stop is just to give up.
Yeah.
Right. So if you can just push past that and figure out, navigate, find other people that know what they're doing, maybe to help you out,
to help you through it.
Or this whole networking teamwork thing.
No, I'll tell you, when you can push through adversity, oh my God, you're almost elated because and then you use that experience whenever you bump up against it in the future. Like, okay, this is just another one of those, and this is why I spend so much time on mindset and psychology in my training and with the Warriors, as you know, is because that's 80 to 90% of it. Is the ability to push through in spite of that crap, or just to get started in some cases as well. That taking that first step and then not getting, not being derailed when you have those inevitable speed bumps. And in fact, when I have my panelists on my Bootcamp, I always try to ask the question, talk about a seminar when you got your ass handed to you, because everybody thinks it's all roses. It's not. You're going to have some challenges, but is it worth it? You better freaking believe it's worth it, right? So let me ask you this, because you're a busy guy. Holy crap. You got 3 kids under, 7 years old?
4, 2, and 7 months.
Yeah, under 4 years old. Okay. You're a surgeon. You've got actually multiple asset classes going now. How do you find time to continue to build what you're doing here with that crazy schedule?
Yep. So, the biggest thing I would say is intention.
Right.
Just living an intentional life. And so wake up at 5 a.m. My kids don't get up till 7. So I have 2 hours to get my workout in, to get work done, to be productive.
The miracle morning.
That's it.
Yeah.
And the most successful people are doing that.
That's right.
And so once I made that shift, that helped a ton. I go to bed at 9 p.m. at night. My wife and I get the kids to bed, and we go to bed. But being productive and what did I just say?
Intentional.
Intentional.
Yeah.
Yes. Being intentional throughout the. So I work as an orthopedic surgeon through the day.
Wow.
But then when I'm home, I'm 7 minutes from the hospital. So I got to come home and see my kids for lunch.
Right.
And then I carve out the time I need to spend on real estate. I carve out the time with my kids.
You block it?
I block it all out. And so I keep my phone away when I'm hanging out with my kiddos.
I teach this, yes? You've heard me teach this. Yeah,
yes.
I teach a planning process where you literally block out time even for your family, okay? And I talk about, the biggest regret in my life was coming home to my kids to this mansion across the bay here, and I'd play with them, but I wasn't there mentally. Yep. It's my greatest regret to this day. And my kids love me and say I'm a great dad, but I don't want anybody to have that guilt. And you've heard me talk about this to the Warriors. I take this very seriously. It's not just about the money. It's about that, and it's about giving back. Yes. It's and which you're doing both of. Talk about a setback or a stressful situation. Just talk about one of these seminars, okay? Since we're on the topic.
I do have one that's kind of funny, I think, now. But so when I first started, I was in Charleston, South Carolina, right? And I was between moving back to Florida, where I went to medical school here. We're going to Charleston, South Carolina, and we chose Charleston just because we thought raising our kids maybe better. Who knows? Even though I like the golf better.
Sure.
But so we were in Charleston. I just got out of the OR. I'm doing this burr. So this, bought it for $75,000. I have 2 buddies.
By the way, I can't imagine there's nobody that knows doesn't know what a burr is. But let me just tell you, it's an acronym that Bigger Pockets actually I think came up with it. But it's buy, renovate, refinance, repeat. Okay, so you buy a and we do it at multifamily. That's our model on freaking $30-40 million deals. We buy it, we fix it up, we refinance, get our investors all or most of their money back, and then hang on to it and keep going. Anyway, please continue.
Yeah. So exactly. So I did that with a single family home, my very first one. And so that's in Indy. I'm in Charleston. I get out of the OR one day and I get a phone call and then pictures. And we literally put the HVAC in. This is December.
Right.
We're about to finish everything up. We're getting the renters in on December 23rd. This is maybe a week before that.
Right before Christmas. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's my first property, and you have trouble with mold and all these other things that pop up. But we put this HVAC in. They put a cage and a lock over it, and I was like, "Why would you guys do that?" And they're like,
"They get stolen."
You need to. They get stolen. And I was like, "Oh wow!" So literally, we put it in the day. The next day, I get out of the OR and I get a picture. It's gone.
Wow.
Cage is cut.
One day.
Didn't last one day, and I'm like, these guys that live in the neighborhood that can't graduate high school, but yet they can do
you know it was a neighbor.
A heist,
Yeah,
basically,
it was
on this
definitely a neighbor.
HVAC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy how
Because it's
creative
behind
they
the
are.
house, right? Because, typically it's not visible from the street.
So they had to pull their truck up somehow.
Jeez.
Yeah. So then I'm dealing with that. Calling insurance. As I'm in the OR, I'm like, what am I doing? I make good money as a surgeon, and now this is happening to me, and I got to call insurance and deal with this. All for a house is going to give me, maybe, a few $100 a month or something.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But to push past that and to realize that was my first seminar, as you call it.
No, that's a baby one. That's a lesson, dude.
Sure.
I've had houses where they've ripped all the plumbing out, all the copper out.
Sure.
Oh my God, yeah.
I think it would scare a lot of surgeons or physicians.
Yeah. That's a very valid point. That's a very valid point. To some people, that's a really big deal.
Right.
But if you've been around this as long as I have, man, and seen the stuff I've seen, that's like, oh, big deal. You know. And the beautiful thing about this business, though, and you've got insurance for stuff like that, but you can pretty much fix anything with a check. Honestly,
Right.
That's the beautiful thing about this business, and some businesses aren't like that. Some businesses, things can happen that literally threaten the business completely. Right. Now, of course, I'm a big advocate for not doing single family just because of what happened to me in 08 and 09. And I'm a big advocate for doing just multifamily because it's much safer and easier to scale. But so you have obviously embraced the concept of team, correct?
Mm-hmm, correct.
Yeah. You've obviously embraced the concept of team. You've done deals with warriors, and you continue to recognize that this is a team sport. You've aligned with experts, and it's not just that, guys. It's and I don't care if you do it in the warrior program or whatever, but you need to get around people that are doing this, that think what you think is hard is easy. Okay, that's number one. Number two is there's strength in numbers. Okay, a rising tide lifts all ships, and that's the value. And you could create one of these yourself. You could start a meetup group in your backyard. Start talking about a topic in this business. A lot of my warriors have set their own. We've dozens of meetup groups around the country, podcasts and Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups, and you've got a podcast. There you go. Perfect example. I've dozens of podcasts in the Warrior program. And so, that's how you create reach. But the bottom line is you've got to get around people that are doing what it is you want to do, that think what you think is hard is easy. Like if you're going to play tennis, do you want to play somebody better than you or worse than you, right? We all have embody core values in our businesses. And, one of the questions I like to ask is what's one value that you think someone in the multifamily space would have? But I'm certain that you've probably got more than one. But could you speak to that a little bit?
I would say number one is integrity.
Yeah.
That's the biggest one.
It's the number one core value in my operations, for sure. Yeah.
It has to be.
You do what's right even if it hurts.
Right, exactly. And when you're dealing with money especially.
Right.
And so, integrity, honesty, and then all the other things I think follow into that. And if you're doing the right thing for your team, for your investors, then you can't go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we one of the things we do in every company I've ever owned is we come up with a list of core values, and ours is actually the acronym FAMILY. And integrity was number one, but we wanted to fit it into that acronym, but every successful business develops core values, and when you're aligning with people, it's a really good idea to understand their core values as best you can to make sure that you're aligned, right?
Yes.
And one of the things that I suggest you do, guys, if you're going to, get into a business like this where you're going to have a team, is just make sure you ask all the hard questions up front. I've got a book in my resource library that's free. If you go to rodslinks.com, go to the free book section, there's a book of the questions you should ask before you get in a partnership. Because a lot of people get excited about getting into a deal. They get caught up in the emotion of it, and they don't pay attention to, dot the I's, cross the T's, and ask all the hard questions. Mm-hmm. You got to ask all the hard questions up front and get to know somebody. And, a partnership like a marriage is easy to get into, but hard to get out of. Mm-hmm. So, you want to ask those hard questions up front and not get so caught up in the emotion that you push forward too quickly. And I tell my new warriors this as well. Make sure you take advantage of that if you're going to do this. So what are some things you're doing to stand out in this marketplace, if anything?
Mm-hmm. So I know that there are other physicians out there that are, educating and doing real estate investing. Mm-hmm. I think for me, really, and going back to my dad, just seeing the real legacy, it doesn't have to be just wealth, think freedom's actually a huge legacy that, people really want and need. I want to set that example for my kiddos. I want to set the example of teaching them freedom as physicians. Not to go all over the place, but as physicians, we're even feeling like that freedom's closing in on us, right? Mm-hmm. We don't have the control that we once had. 75% of docs, like I said, are becoming employed, having less freedom. And so I want to teach my kiddos that there's other ways to build that freedom. And so that's why real estate investing, doing other entrepreneurial things helps a lot. And then on top of that, the knowing that legacy is not just wealth that we're passing on. It's values, it's principles, it's the culture. It's me waking up in the morning every day. I tell dads, your let me start this way. Dads, your son will follow your example. Your daughters will marry it.
Mm-hmm. That's very true.
So everything I do, it's not what I tell my kids. It's what I do. Show. It's my example. Mm-hmm. And so I'm teaching them that, work hard, but also be intentional about your life. Make an impact on others. It's not about what you say to people or how you say it. It's how you make them feel. All these things, I think legacy embodies all that. So it's not, again, just the wealth that you're passing on. It's all these values that you're passing on.
Love it. Mm-hmm. Love it.
And then I think, too, financial freedom, that's a good buzzword. And I feel like that's an overused buzzword. I know I just talked about freedom, but I think financial empowerment is more of a term that I'm using. And what that means is just I'm educating through my podcast and educating through just talking to people. Anybody that messages me, I give them my cell phone and I'm like, call me, let's talk. Because there's a ton of physicians out there that just don't have a clue, or busy professionals in general just don't know about this stuff.
Sure.
And they don't have the time to go, read or do these things.
Yeah.
And so I give them my cell phone number, call me, let's talk. And my whole thing is just to empower them on this stuff. I can't say I'm an expert, but I'm going to give you the resources to help you become an expert. And so I just think financial freedom, that word is almost overused. It's like a buzzword, especially in the physician space.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to.
And a lot of physicians make big mistakes in their investing as well, because they don't have the time to really explore what they're investing in, and so they just throw money at stuff, and very often, they make a mistake. And I tell them, like you're educating them, I tell them, even if you're going to invest passively, learn what it is you're investing in, for God's sakes. Get your ass to one of my boot camps or do something to educate yourself in whatever, you'll see a lot of people just throw money at stockbrokers, and a stockbroker is just a salesman. Mm-hmm. They're not an analyst, and they're just going to convince you to buy something. And, you've got to have some basic understanding of whatever it is that you're investing in. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But
invest in yourself.
And that's your best investment. That's your best investment by far. I noticed in the questions that we have you answer before you come on, just so we have some direction with where we're going to take this thing. One of the questions that we ask is, what are the key differences in doing multifamily before you had a coach and then, after you got one, like in our program. And you mentioned Keith Cunningham. But speak to that for a second, because I want to talk about Keith after you're done.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I've never seen Keith live, but I do love listening to him on YouTube.
Right.
And he has like the 4-day master's program or something like that.
So 4-day MBA, and
that's right.
And I've done it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's a genius, obviously, in this space. And one thing that I love that he said is, it doesn't matter how fast you run if you're running in the wrong direction.
Right.
And I think that's a lot of what's going on here. And I felt that. And so until I joined the Warrior and I actually had direction, I'm like, okay, once you get this going, stay in gear 1 for a while until you figure it out, and then you can start going fast.
Yeah. So Keith speaks at Tony Robbins events, and I've seen him live, and he's freaking hilarious. I've probably seen him speak, I'm not exaggerating, 11 or 12 times at Tony Robbins Business Mastery events. And by the way, big shout out to Tony. I spent 20 years following him around the planet. If you have an opportunity to see him speak live, just do it. He's not going to do it forever, and his stuff is life changing. It's definitely changed my life. But Keith is freaking hilarious, and he's just got some really funny quotes. Do you know any of them off the top of your head?
Yeah. He talks about one that I love. Success is about getting what you want. Fulfillment is about giving what you got.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
And Tony Robbins obviously talks about, contribution is huge.
Oh, yeah. No, Tony calls it the science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment. Achievement's a science. If you want to learn multifamily, join our Warrior program or get your ass to one of my boot camps. But fulfillment's an art. You got to figure out what you love and give back in some fashion. For me, it's kids, but whatever it is. But Well, listen, brother, I appreciate you coming down here. This has been a lot of fun, and I'm dying to see where you're at a couple of years from now with what you've accomplished so far. With everything you've got going on. Very impressive, brother. But I appreciate you.
Yeah, we appreciate you. I think I appreciate you having me down here. And you've been a mentor to me, whether you know it or not, for the last few years. And so,
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been huge.
I appreciate that, brother. Well, listen, guys, if you are interested in applying to our Warrior program, text the word CRUSH to 72345 so we can help you crush it in this business. Take care. All right. Thanks, brother. So one other quick thing. We encounter so many people that are, frankly, frustrated. They're looking in the mirror and they're frustrated that they haven't been able to escape the rat race. They haven't been able to build cash flow to the point where they're able to have financial and time freedom with their families. And maybe they see other people buying real estate and creating, incredible cash flow, and they think, well, it's just scary. Buying apartments is intimidating. And I get it. See, that's why we created our Warrior Mentorship Program. They're our coaching students, and they've had extraordinary results. My students, I've been teaching about 5 years, and they own upwards of 140,000 units now that we know of, right? And we feel like it's just getting going. Now, we're looking to grow this group and really take it to the next level. And honestly believe that the greatest transfer of wealth could be upon us right now with this current economic environment. Everything's going on sale. So we're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework, really like a blueprint or a map, literally step by step. And then they're able to leverage our systems and our incredible network to raise money and equity, to find deals and close those deals and build partnerships, really nationwide. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more in our incredible network and take advantage of the unbelievable opportunities that are upon us, you can apply to my Warrior Mentorship Program by texting the word CRUSH to 72345, or you can go to mentorwithrod.com. And what we'll do is we'll set up a call so you can check us out and we can check you out and see if it's a fit. Now, again, you can go to mentorwithrod.com or text the word CRUSH to 72345 to apply, and we will speak soon.